Mr. Bell.
That's right.
All right, let's go ahead and start. Everybody ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, here we go. Call to order. This is the Tuesday, August 16th, 2022 meeting of the Cabell County Board of Education. Would you all please rise for the pledge? Mrs. Bond, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll begin tonight with informational items. I'd like to introduce Mr. Kim Cooper.
Board members, Dr. Sachs, Sharon Myers, I have the best job ever. I get to work not only with the best teachers in the state, but I also get to work with the best first responders, and that's law enforcement, fire, EMS. Tonight, we're going to take just a few minutes and introduce some of the law enforcement that works with our schools pretty much on a daily basis. So, gentlemen and lady,
Here's Sheriff just right there.
as I call your name, if you'd come down, please, and stand in the front. First of all, Sheriff Chuck Zirkle, who just rolled in. Better late than never. Lieutenant Roman Thompson, who's over the SROs in the Sheriff's Department. Deputy Mike Talbot at Milton Middle and the feeder schools. Deputy C.J. Stewart is at Huntington Middle and feeder schools. Deputy J.D. McQuaid at Huntington East Middle School and feeder schools. Deputy Bill Templeton at Cabell Midland. Now, all of these are with the Sheriff's Department. Now we have Officer Todd Neal with Barbersville Police Department. And Officer Ernie Blackburn with the Huntington Police Department. These are our SROs. We also have someone that works very, very closely with all of every school. She has a job that I would hate to have, but she is over the Crimes Against Children unit with the West Virginia State Police, someone very near and dear to my heart, Susan Clegg. We have some of our chiefs. We have Chief Darren McNeil from the Barbersville Police Department. I don't think Chief Colder has made it yet. He's on his way, but he will be here shortly. We have Joe Parsons is the chief in Milton, but due to a conflict with City Hall meeting tonight, we have somebody that's really a good friend of mine. Is Kyle Odell, Lieutenant. And we have our prosecuting attorney from Cabell County, Corky Hammers. Now, I don't think that anybody slipped in here on me. Not that I can see. But folks, let me tell you something. the group that you see in front of you are the first line. We have gone through several days now of training with the FBI, and they are so appreciative of the job that these men and women do on a daily basis. They keep not only our students, but they keep our staff, they keep our community safe.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it greatly, as do everyone that's behind me and everybody that's in front of me, behind you all. Thank you.
On behalf of the board, I'd just like to express my appreciation to these ladies and gentlemen. I can't tell you how much we support you and what you're doing, how thankful we are that you are protecting our children. There couldn't be a more important job in this world than what you do. And we support our police. We support our first responders. So thank you all so much.
Now, as a little added benefit, with Susan came somebody else that's even more dear and dear to my heart. And that's my son, Colin. Would you please stand up? There you go. Thank you all. We're going to get a picture.
I've got to say something, though. I'd be remiss if I didn't say, he just recently got corporal, so.
Oh, cool.
Congratulations.
Good deal. Good.
He's our newest men in corporal.
And
Excellent.
at the SRO conference, Bill was recognized at the state level. Raise your hand, Bill, so they know which one you are.
And that's our newest hero.
Anti-vaping.
Our
Yep.
new DARE awareness deputy, or however you would want to say it. He's the one that's going to be going around working with the different schools and with the DARE program, so, which is a very worthwhile. Yeah, if you get a chance, look at his pretty truck. So thank you, Chuck, for doing that wherever you are.
And,
So-
you know, I would also like to, Chief Colder, come on down. Come on
there he
down.
is. Chief Colder is with the Huntington Police Department.
I want to be able to say, that's it. I just want to say on behalf of the school district leadership, our principals, our teachers, our service personnel, how much we appreciate the work that these men and women do in our schools every single day, not by just being a presence to thwart off any kind of potential threat, but also what they do on a daily basis to build relationships with our students, to make sure that our students understand that they are there to provide protection, but also guidance or mentorship. I think about Corporal Talbot and the work that he does with the students at Milton Middle as a prime example in their positive behavior program. He has a cooking show that he does to build that community connection. The extra work that Officer Templeton has done to go and become a trainer on vaping, which we know has been an issue in schools all across our country, and so it's not isolated just Cabell County. So the extra work that these men and women are doing to go the extra mile for our students is just tremendously commendable, and it's what also makes our school district very unique. And the leadership that's here between Chief Zirkle, Chief Holder, Rooster, I'm telling you, these men work tirelessly to make sure that our school district has the supports and the resources necessary. And I'm just so appreciative of their leadership as well. So thank you on behalf of all of the staff here in Cabell County for the work you continue to do for our school district.
Guys, we'll get a picture with the board here.
Oh, we're gonna have to squeeze in. I should have wore heels today. There's such a difference between the men and the women. This is what I'm telling you. Wanda and I are gonna get step stools. Where are you sneaking off to? Who is child protection. Can you imagine that job? The good Lord did not equip me for that.
Thank you.
I tell you, everybody looks good in a uniform.
I said, good men.
Wish we could have one in every school.
Get out.
Me too. Me too. My brother's a cop. He's a lieutenant for the Barnsley Police Department. My brother is. Yeah.
Working the crowd.
She's doing a Mary.
That's right.
Glover is my maiden name.
Come up here with Mary.
Okay, next is Jed, and he isn't here.
It'll be,
Who's filling in for Jed?
hey, Krissa. Who's filling in for Jed? You're
Oh,
pretty
you
good.
are.
Okay. It'll be Miss Hayes.
Hayes, okay.
You'll do
Gotcha.
great.
All right. We're ready to move on to special celebrations. And Kristen?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We have some wonderful celebrations for tonight. Our first celebration is our advanced placement teachers who exceeded the AP West Virginia and Global Pass Rate. We'd like to congratulate the following advanced placement AP teachers. Each of these teachers exceeded the West Virginia AP pass rate, and many of them exceeded the global AP pass rate. So first up is Huntington High School. If you would, just come up and stand. Amy McElroy, AP English Literature. Heather Reed, AP English Literature. Marissa Dillon, AP English Literature.
How pretty.
Steve Freeman, AP Psychology. Isaac McOwen, AP Biology. Courtney Johnson, AP United States History. Kelly Coffer, AP Human Geography. And Eric Kennedy, AP Environmental Science. Now from Cabell Midland High School. Adam Riazzi, AP Statistics and AP Computer Science Principles.
Way to go, Riz.
Brian McNeil, AP Biology. Michelle Brooks, AP English Language. Justin Ripley, AP Human Geography and AP US Government. Trina Wise, AP Calculus AB. Lori Tarango, AP English Literature. Billy Williams, AP Psychology. Scott White, AP Psychology. And Don Scalise, AP US Government. Would anybody like to say anything?
Come on,
Well-
Dawn. I know you got it.
Supporting AP program and paying for the exams.
Oh, yeah.
That the kids take. I've talked to you about this before. I like the fact you start school early, so we have a lot of time to work with the kids before the May test. Please keep, August beginning date. I love you guys for that, because it really helps students, even for the state tests. It gives us more time to do that, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I am just going to articulate that, thank you, Mr. White, but also the dedication that they have to go, I believe, every 2 years to get every 3 years to get recertified to be able to teach AP throughout the summer. And their dedication to our students, when there's a need, they jump forward to offer tutoring after school. We try to work with them consecutively as need. I just can't say how proud I am of each of you and the programs that you've been able to build and establish. And, you know, the board has honored that fact that we do pay for all AP testing in the state. So I want to commend you on the great work. We were so excited when those results came in, and I just want to personally thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh, no doubt. So,
Thank you guys, and if you guys would stay after the celebrations for a picture with the board members?
Well, actually, how about since they're already up here, let's go ahead and do them, and then, because there's so many students,
Okay.
we'll do this first, and that'll, I think, help a little bit. I just also want to say that the dedication that you all put forward, as Ms. Watts has so eloquently indicated, is just inspiring. You know, one of the things that we've seen on the outskirts of this pandemic has been an increase in student achievement, but we're not quite to where we were pre-pandemic levels, and that's what you hear in the media talking about. And I just go back to this, the state assessment results don't tell the entire picture of what's going on in our classrooms. This is the other data that we need to be looking at and celebrating from the hard work of our dedicated teachers every single day. As we mentioned to start with, the people before us board, all of them surpassed the state average AP rate. Most of them surpassed the global pass rate too. That speaks volumes for where our instruction and where the skill level of our instructors are here in Cabell County. And I just couldn't be more proud. So again, congratulations, and we're blessed to have you here in Cabell County.
Yeah, here, here.
Indeed.
Up again? Okay. Yeah. You go right ahead. Give me a water.
I don't know if you know how coveted this is, at least at the district office, but hopefully you find it, a token of our appreciation. The superintendent's point of excellence. So congratulations. If you talk to the executive directors, they're all trying to make you. It's good to see you. It is. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That was a long time ago. Just makes me feel old.
Josh, did you hear what that man said?
Yeah, I was talking to,
35 years you were his,
in Elkview Middle School.
which one?
Elkview Middle School in Kanawha County.
30? Oh my
Played
God.
basketball for him.
Do you wonder what the time
Oh,
was?
it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Hard to
Flies.
believe.
All right.
Now, everybody should have a seat if they want one.
I think we're ready to move on with the Cabell County Fair Livestock Winners and Fair Queen.
Yes, we have the Cabell County Fair winners and fair queens. So first off is our market steers. We have Kiera Hawley, who was grand champion, best homegrown, Cabell County born and raised, and she is from Cabell Midland High School. She's a graduate.
Excellent.
She
Oh,
here?
is she here?
Callie here?
She's not here? Oh,
Marley Norris received reserve champion, first senior showmanship, and she is also a graduate from Cabell Midland High School.
Hey,
It's probably
hey,
W.
Krista, can you go ask Ms. Phillips what it is that we're doing wrong?
You know me, I like to heal the kids' soul.
Yes.
All right.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Chloe, if you'd like to get up and
Oh, they had a plan, Krista. They had a plan. That's what happened. I apologize.
You gotta share your plans. Sharing is good.
Very good.
Okay. Okay, am I good now? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chloe Armentrout, the 2022 Cabell County Fair Queen. On behalf of the Cabell County Fair and my fellow exhibitors, I would like to express my gratitude to the Cabell County School Board for their endless support. I am also honored and extremely excited to announce that our livestock auction had record prices, averaging to a $433,000. I would now like to invite my fellow exhibitors to share with us their achievements throughout the fair week. Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. This is good.
That's funny. Here we go.
Hello, I am Chloe Irwin and I am the president of Cabell Midlands FFA chapter, and this year I was able to bring home first place senior showmanship in market goats.
Wow. Nice.
Awesome.
Good job.
Can you tell us how much your animal brought?
Oh, okay. My goat brought $30 a pound.
Awesome.
Hey,
Pretty impressive.
good.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
That is good.
You can do it.
What's your name? Josie. This is Josie, and what'd you show?
Market lamb.
Market Lamb, and what award did you win?
A $500 check.
For what?
Raising a lamb in Cabell County.
Cabell County Born and Raised. So this is Josie. She shows a Market Lamb, and she won Cabell County Born and Raised.
Awesome, Josie. Congratulations.
And she's from Cox Landing Elementary.
All
All
right.
right.
Congratulations.
Hey. Oh, what a pretty girl.
Scared.
Good evening. My name is Afia Welker, and I'm the Vice President of the Cabell Midland FFA chapter. This year I brought home the first place senior showmanship in the market swine division, and shortly after I got to show in the master showmanship, and it was just a privilege to be there and compete.
How much did your animal bring?
$10 a pound.
All right. That's
Right.
awesome.
Man.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Davis. I'm 18 years old and I'm a member of the Owner Rainbows 4-H Club. I've been showing since I was 7 years old, and this year I was able to bring home the second place senior showmanship in market steers.
Congratulations. What did your animal bring?
What did he weigh?
You know, what did he bring at the auction?
I ended up taking home $13,750.
Wow.
Very
Nice.
good. Congratulations.
We're gonna
Celebrate that.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Smith, and I won Grand Champion Market Swine. This year, I also won first place Junior Showmanship and second place Senior Showmanship. And I'd just like to take this opportunity and thank the Board of Education for supporting agricultural education and within the school system. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Can't get him that.
Hello everyone, my name is Carly Creech. I am 12 years old. I am a proud member of the Cabell County Junior Livestock Producers and an upcoming Milton Middle School FFA member. At this year's Cabell County Fair, I won Reserve Champion Feeder Heifer and second place Junior Showmanship. As this was my first year showing, I am proud of my hard work and preparation to get ready for the fair. I would like to thank everyone, and especially the board office, for allowing me to be here this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you had your calf here.
I know.
She was one of the demonstration calves.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Allie Clagg. I'm the daughter of Keith and Sarah Clagg. I'm 10 years old and I'm going into 5th grade at Melton Elementary. I'm a member of Ridge Runners 4-H Club. This year at Cabell County Fair, I received Grand Champion Feeder Steer, Best Homegrown Feeder Steer, Cabell County Born and Raised Feeder Steer, and
second place junior showmanship. I would like to thank Dr. Sachs and all the other board members for being such big supporters at the 4-H and FFA Cabell County.
Thank you.
This is Braylee Pingley, and she won Reserve Champion Market Hog at the Cabell County Fair, and she is a student at Milton Middle School.
Hi, my name is Kendall Carter, and I'm a member of the Milton Middle School FFA, and I won Best Homegrown for my feeder heifer.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Addison. I'm a member of the Cabell County FFA, the Ona Rainbows 4-H, and the Junior Livestock Producers. This year I brought home Grand Champion Market Lamb, first place Senior Showmanship, and I got to participate in the Master Showman, and I brought home the first place.
Awesome. Can you, as the winner of Master Showman, can you explain to the board what you actually had to do to win that class?
For Master Showmanship, you have to win your Senior Showmanship, which I brought home first place, and then you get to show along with all of the other first place senior showmen, and you show every species at the fair. So we show goats, swine, we did not have rabbits this year, market steers, market feeder steers, and then the lambs and goats. So you show all of them, and then we get points based on how we do, and that's how they pick your winner.
That's awesome.
Excellent. That's
Congratulations.
fantastic.
Hi, my name's Ava Wilmuth. I'm 9 years old, and I go to Sun Rock Elementary, and I was 3rd overall and Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year, all right.
Good job.
Congratulations. Good job.
Hi, my name is Colin Robinson. I'm 9 years old. I attend Colloden Elementary, and I got Rookie of the Year.
All right. Good job, Colton.
Hi, my name is Kinsey Spears. I am the Milton Middle School president, and this year my goat brought home grand champion of the market meat goats.
Excellent.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Scarberry. I am a member of the Milton Middle School FFA chapter, and this year I won Best Homegrown with my market meat goat.
Hi, I'm Aaliyah Armentrout. I am a member of the Ona 4-H Club, Ona Rainbows. I am from Milton Middle School, and I brought 2nd place junior showmanship for Market Steer.
Hi, my name is Dylan Smith. I won 1st place junior showmanship and Rookie of the Year. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Riley Hightower, and do you want to tell them your name? Christopher Norwick, and we won Grand Champion Special Lamb.
Congratulations. Good job. Is that good? Nope.
Madeline Smith is going in the 6th grade at Milton Middle School. She's a little blonde sitting right there. She's a little nervous.
Oh, that's
She
okay.
got 2nd
That's
place
okay.
junior showmanship with her market swan.
Good
Oh,
job.
Congratulations, Madeline.
Get her down here for the picture.
It's okay.
Is that good?
Is that it?
Is that good? Let's give our Cabell County Fair participants another big round of applause. Board members, as we talked about at the board meeting prior to the fair, the amount of hard work and dedication that these students put into these fair projects is truly commendable. They start these projects sometimes a year in advance if they're raising steers, or many, many months in advance for all the other species. And it takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of hard work and research, because they have to be able to understand how to appropriately, feed and condition these animals to prepare them for the show. And so I commend them for their hard work and their entrepreneurial spirit. So bright things are ahead for these young men and women, and so we're very, very pleased, and congratulations to them all. And I also have coins for each student. So after the picture, just make sure you get a coin. I'll come down and you can just take one and go in the line. We'll make it as efficient as possible. And I'd also like the 4-H FFA advisors to come up for the picture too. They don't like to, but y'all need to come up for the picture, and we'll make sure we have pictures for you. Yeah. And
Can she just come and do the picture?
we would love to have her. Can Mrs. What's her name? What's her name, Matt? Madeline, would you come up and stand with me? Can you stand with me? Come on, honey.
Let her stand with her. Let her keep her mommy.
Dr. Sachs.
He went to get,
Are we finished?
well, he went to get some more of the,
Oh, okay.
Is your ankle anything?
Well, that's the good part. My husband, he eyes on it for me.
Now we got a softball team, I think, right? Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. Baby, you did good. I'm like, trying to think, they were.
I'll have a refreshment, thank you.
Excuse me.
Is there any more points in there? Did I just see? How many do we have? I might have.
And there, we still have the softball team.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Brandy is an X-ray tech.
what?
Brandy and I, we went to school together.
You did?
Mhm. She's an X-ray tech too.
She's so sweet.
Okay, and our final celebration tonight is Ona Milton Senior League softball team. The Ona Milton Senior League softball Little League team won the state championship title in June. I have their coaches here to introduce their players.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brandy Ellis. This is Mia Billups.
and Jason Freeman is unable to be available this evening. These girls did an amazing job. They really did. We traveled all the way to Salisbury, North Carolina to represent the state of West Virginia for this tournament in the Southeast region, and they placed in the top 4. So I couldn't be more proud as a coach, and I know Mia is as well. To announce these girls, we have a few missing this evening, but first up is Riley Freeman from Cabell Midland High School. Next is Callie Ellis from Cabell Midland High School. Sophia Luther, Cabell Midland High School. Jen Dunham, Cabell Midland High School. Linda Maynard, Cabell Midland High School. Anna Elkins, Cabell Midland High School. Rebecca Conrad is from Milton Middle and unable to attend. Brendalyn Minton, Cabell Midland High School, or Milton Middle, sorry. Sophie Kelly, Milton Middle. She's unable to be here. Summer Maynard, Milton Middle School. And Kendall Black, Milton Middle School, and she's unable to attend. They were so afraid to speak. But no, I couldn't be more proud of you ladies, and you girls know that. And Mia as well. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
The board, speaking on behalf of the board, I want to tell you girls how proud we are of you. A state championship is nothing to laugh about. I mean, that is serious business. That's a great accomplishment. And I guess the tradition of good softball at Cabell Midland's going to carry on.
Yeah.
I see that for sure. But thank you so much, because you were representing all of us, our entire state. And I can just tell by looking at you that you're a class act. So thank you for that, and good luck next year, okay?
That's right.
Yeah, congratulations.
Are we gonna go ahead and get pictures?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm just putting my presentation up here.
Put your foot up. You should have had a little stool. Good. I'll get you an ice pack on the next break.
Thank you. I'll give that one to Jason.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.
We all do number one?
Say championship.
Getting our exercise. We're moving our joints.
This one buckle's like, oh my gosh.
Go for it. Jody just can't stay away. Who's back there? Oh.
Okay, let's see here, real quick, make sure I'm in the right place. Update
Clear out
instruction
fast,
leadership, Kelly. All right, she's ready to roll too. All right, next on the agenda, we have an update, instruction and leadership services. Miss Kelly Watts.
Good evening, President Smalley, Dr. Sachs, board members. I have just put a manila folder up there for your viewing pleasure. The first documents I wanted to talk to you about, we have included the just released GSA data and the ACT and SAT data. Now, we're not going into this tonight, as this is we'll go in more detail at a board workshop in September, but we wanted you to go ahead and have the data. It is public, so that way you can start viewing it and be ready for your questions when we work with you. Okay, I've included a summative comparison of reading, math, and science, and then each individual school data as well, and the trend data that you can see over the years. Okay? Then, behind that, what I came to talk about tonight is that my department has been working on instruction and technology guides that, as we have prepared for our new teachers, but also for all of our teachers, as we want to build a better resource library for our staff. And we have each of these at the programmatic level. So you see you have elementary, and within these documents, there's an introduction to the staff. There's curriculum overview graphics on reading, math, science, social studies, and related arts. There's about the iReady diagnostics, the general summative assessment, and then also Clever, Schoology, the Microsoft 365 suite, the devices, Schoology groups, elementary academic statements. As if you remember, every year we update our academic statements that has our core curriculum content as well. And then, of course, our modern teacher. If you remember last year, I introduced you to the modern teacher framework that we have been developing, our theory of action and our instructional model, as well as the resources that support that instructional model. So within this document, each grade level or each programmatic level is addressed. Now, you have middle school. Please make note, elementary and middle is final. High school still is under draft form until board approval tonight of the new position, pending board approval. And so it will be updated, and I'll get you a fresh copy as soon as it can get to the printer. So the executive directors, and I do have to commend Mr. Cunningham because he started on this project as well, as we give him such a hard time right now. But our academic specialist has worked very collectively with the technology department as well as our new teacher mentors to really think about how do we want to provide the resources to our teachers, both substitutes as well as our new teachers, but also as our experienced teachers as well. Our goal is that we're all speaking the same language as well as moving forward in the direction of high quality education. So this was a document that I was very pleased that they brought forth to me that they wanted to create, and it's very well done. So I want to commend the executive directors and the academic specialists as well as Gina with school improvement, and our new teachers have worked diligently to get this ready for the teachers this week. So they've all been given access. They will be housed on our website as well. So any questions for me?
This looks great.
I'm just here to brag on my staff.
This is great.
And feel free, if you have any questions about the data or these documents, feel free to contact me.
All right, thank you, Mrs.
All right,
Fox.
turning it back to you.
Appreciate it. Update, operations and support, Mr. Hardesty.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Sachs, Ms. Myers. Today it's a little bit different. I just want to review some of the things on the agenda because we have two items on there I think we need to go a little bit deeper into this evening instead of just a regular update. And again, if there are any questions throughout the county about anything going on, always feel free to let me know or contact me. I'll be glad to work with those. But I do want to call your attention to a couple of items on the agenda to start with. We have 2 employees that have changed their minds on postings that they have bid on, and they're on the agenda, so we need to pull those. State code allows them to pull their name up until the time the board votes. And so that is item on page 11, P 244. Page 11, P 244. And she has just changed her mind. And then on page 18, the first one was professional, the second one's service. On page 18, it's CU 23008. And before I get, I'm sorry.
Would you repeat page 11 for me again, please?
Yes, page 11, P 2444.
Oh, 2444. Thank you much.
What was it?
Okay, I got 2444. Thank you, Mr. Hardis.
Oh, you're welcome. I also wanted to update the board before I move on. On yesterday at our work session, I discussed the service personnel substitutes, and we had a question about the bus operators. And what we have discovered is, yes, we do have 16 on a substitute list here. However, most of those are either working a leave of absence or for a person that's out due to an illness or a surgery. So our bus operator truly substitute right now is 4 retirees that are not scheduled to work tomorrow. We do have some provisions in place. We have about 7 or 8 substitutes that are already scheduled out there off that list tomorrow, but those are typically in a long-term position at this point. So what Mr. Gleason and Mr. Cooper and I will be doing over the next 2 or 3 days is coming up with some ideas to present to Dr. Sachs and you all about some, I guess, some unique ways that we have outside of the box of traditional route towards bus operators. In the past, we have went through a process where we have them work in the evenings. When they show an interest, we have a class that takes several weeks. We don't have several weeks to get some substitutes in place. And so in the board update on Friday, I will show you what our plan will be at that time. We've already got some ideas together that Mr. Gleason and Mr. Cooper and I are working on. We want to make sure that Dr. Sachs is on board with those and moving forward to expedite that process to get them in place. But for tomorrow, we should be good to go. We're ready to go, and again, we have 7 of those positions already filled with those substitutes. The other items on the agenda is 4.02. That's the items that are in 3rd reading. I think there are 13 of those. And the only change was the identification of the compliance monitor. That was the only change on any of those 13. Excuse me. 4.03 is in the 2nd reading, and those are those policies for, and it's really a mixture on those. That's the ones that we presented last time. So if there are any questions going forward, any comments, I've not received any through email or for phone calls from the public or from you all. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be glad to respond to those. And 4.04, I wanted to explain the change order that's on there because I feel the exact same way about change orders as all of you, I'm sure, do. I don't like them. I think they're terrible. This is a change order due to the paving that we had out for bid this summer. This was something we didn't know we had to do. What we found out from working with ESG and the state on the updates to Cox Landing HVAC, the new HVAC that we plan on putting in, there are new regulations on air intake that we weren't aware of at the time because of the way the building's constructed. And the vents for those classrooms are down close to the ground on the outside of the building, which works because right now they have window units or the freestanding, they're in the classroom, and so it pulls that fresh air in. You now can't have a fresh air intake within 15 feet of any kind of contaminant, which would be an automobile. If you know how Cox Landing's parking lot is, there's about 2 to 2.5 feet between the pavement and the wall where the intake is, and the intake is close to the ground. And so what we need to do is make that we have to have that striped. So there's not paving being done here, it's actually the paving company is gonna stripe the lot to go out 15 feet from the building to where there is no traffic and no access for automobiles within those two areas. And that's on the side facing the library and also in the front, because there's a small parking lot in the front. And again, there are classrooms right there with the air intake next to the ground.
May I ask, how will our bus pickup happen now for those kids?
It won't change anything because the lane that we had right there was wide enough to get 2 cars on already.
Oh, okay,
We're just
good.
taking a lane out to make sure we can close off a lane to get 15 feet from the building.
We had pre-K, one here,
And
the other one.
that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, no, good.
It won't change anything there. We just need to stripe the lot to prevent people from being in that area.
Yeah. Okay.
The other 2 items on the agenda is really where I think we're going to spend most of the time this evening in case you have questions. But I appreciate, and I know we've talked last night, we had Audra and Craig. They're here again this evening if anybody has questions for them from ESG. But I also want to introduce 2 gentlemen that have been working with Cabell County through this process. And that is Roger Hunter with Bowles Rice and Eddie McCliney with McCliney and Company. I'm going to ask them to come up and kind of go through the other 2 items, which is 4.05 and 4.06. And those are considerations for the financial aspect of the energy savings contract and then the contract itself. And so I've got a folder to give you, and they have a folder. They're going to come up and discuss those. Gentlemen?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Eddie McCliney with McCliney and Company in Kansas City, Missouri. I think I've come a little bit of some distance. Just for your information about McCliney and Company, since you wouldn't know who we were, we've been working in West Virginia for 20 years. The last 2 years I have done, and most of it with Roger Hunter Bowles Rice, $80 million worth of lease purchase financing in West Virginia alone. I know how to get these issues placed. I've been hired as your municipal advisor, placement agent for the lease purchase. Now, what we've been doing, and we've been working behind the scenes here, and we have, number one, we have worked with Roger to come up with what's in front of you, the parameters resolution. The parameters resolution kind of has 3 parts. Roger's going to go into more detail on it. I'm going to kind of hit it at the high side. It says the maximum issue size.
Mr. McCliney, I apologize. I want to make sure the board understands that's 4.05 in the board agenda.
Yeah.
4.05. Thank you.
That it shows a maximum issue size of $3,625,000. I think when all said and done, it's going to be under $3,600,000. It shows a maximum interest rate of 3.5. I believe it'll come in under 3. It also has a maximum 10.5 years. We're looking at actually doing it in 7 years. Last week, I sent out the request for proposals, the offering circular, to 22 different institutions. They range from as large as Bank of America and as small as Polka Valley here in West Virginia. We've already had a lot of interest. Actually, I've already received 1 proposal. So there's been a lot of interest. I expect this issue to sell very well. We will know the final terms on a week from tomorrow at 11:30. So on the 24th at 11:30. I will go over to the terms. I will compare to what is out there in the market. I work for you. I don't work for ESG. I don't work for any of the banks. I work for you to help protect you to get the best terms possible. Once I know those terms, and I think they are marketable, I will call Tim. Say, here's where they are. He will pass that information on to Dr. Sachs. The document here will allow that to be signed off on, and we would close maybe as fast as by the end of the month. And again, as long as we're satisfied with the terms and the people that are part of that reimbursement resolution that Roger will get involved and get a little more detail is satisfied as well. But we're not approving it, they have to approve it, and that has to be approved before you take in that next step, which is the performance contract. The performance contract, moving forward with that, is contingent on having fair terms, good terms on the lease purchase. Any questions for me? Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Roger, and he's going to go into more detail.
No, I don't right now.
I guess we can move on.
Okay.
I just want to draw your attention to the folder that you have. Inside your folder, there are 4 different documents. The first one you are very familiar with, that's the color-coded list of scope of works that we went over last night. The 2 that they're really referring to are the last 2, the larger documents. One is the contract, the financial contract, and one is the contract with ESG. If you look through there, you'll note that there are items in there that are not complete because they're not completed yet. We're still waiting on those terms. So the other wording is set, the scope of the terms and the dates are not in there. Roger?
Good evening, good afternoon, I guess it is. We've been working for some time on behalf of the board on several different fronts. And tonight, those fronts converge on 2 resolutions that are in front of you that we would want to explain to you, answer any questions you may have. And they're related, but distinct. The first one is called Parameters Resolution. That's the one Eddie's been talking about. It relates to one piece of the funding plan for all these projects. The total number of projects from your work session yesterday, you know, is approximately $14,230,000 and some change. And approximately $8,809,000 and some change of that total will be in a separate contract with ESG, and because it will be financed and funded through ESSER dollars. And so in a moment, we'll come to the ESG resolution, I'll call it for shorthand, and we'll get to that. But part of what will be used to fund the $5,421,000 and some change that is not ESSER, 2 pieces of that's partly funded by available board funds, partly funded by the proceeds from this lease purchase financing that we're talking about at the moment. So you really have a 3-legged stool. You got 3 components. They all tally up to $14,230,000 worth of projects that ESG will do, and you're funding them with ESSER funds, and then over here, a smaller bucket of $5,421,000, which is mostly lease purchase funds and some funds of this board that are available for such purposes. So that's kind of the big picture tonight. Getting into the parameters resolution, if that's the one that Eddie McCliney has been talking about, it actually says parameters resolution at the top. It addresses the authorization for your board team. Your president, your superintendent, your treasurer are named as designated officers to carry out this plan. But if you approve this resolution tonight, you'll be doing several things. You'll be authorizing Eddie McCliney to go forward and finish getting the best terms he can through his placement process, the competitive process he referred to. You'll be confirming his company as the placement agent. Secondly, you'll be authorizing us on your behalf as your legal counsel to work on finalizing and filling in those final terms once we know the winning best proposal from the best bank submission. There are some blanks in the contract in front of you. It's called Equipment Lease Purchase Agreement. It's a fairly thick document. And it's here to give you a very good idea of what sorts of things we have to put in place to borrow that kind of money through a lease purchase financing. This is a structure and a form that of those 20-some banks, there are some banks that seem to be over and over again very aggressive in going after this type of financing opportunity. And so of those banks that we've seen the most in the last 12 months, almost all of them have a familiarity with this particular package of agreements and documents and exhibits that is before you. And so we feel it represents a fair balance of protecting this board and also meeting the banking industry standards for doing this type of financing. So if you approve this resolution, you also be approving the basic structure of the lease purchase financing and going forward with finalizing that document, the equipment lease purchase agreement, once the banking terms are known, the interest rate, 7-year maturity, and so forth. The other thing that's mentioned here is a certificate of determinations. And that is a process that public finance lawyers such as our group at Bowles Rice uses when the board gives authorization to move forward within certain guardrails. Eddie mentioned those guardrails, but let me mention them again here. The 3 guardrails are the maximum principal amount that this lease purchase can be if you approve this resolution is $3,625,000. $3,625,000. The maximum interest rate would be 3.5%. Mr. McCliney's indicated that he thinks both of those, when all the dust settles, will be a little bit lower in terms of the interest rate, in terms of the principal amount. But those are the outer boundaries and guardrails. 10.5 years maximum term, although he has gone out after consulting with your leadership team here and staff, superintendent and director of facilities and treasurer, CSBO, that 7 years would be a more appropriate fit for you all things considered. So that's what the proposals are going to be bid on, 7 years. We think that you're going to have a good group of submissions and should get a pretty good result. And so we're excited about that. But if you approve this resolution, those are the key things that parameters resolution would do. And I don't know, Madam President, if you want to go through everything and then take one motion to approve the parameters resolution and then a second motion to approve the SG resolution. But I'm happy to answer any questions about the lease purchase financing.
Madam President, may I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
And I'll ask our council if this would be appropriate. Both of these items are under our consent agenda, so if they disapprove the consent agenda, they would, by action, be approving both the resolution as well as the contract. Is that appropriate?
That's appropriate.
Okay.
If it's understood that by all the board members, that by doing so, they're also adopting these 2 resolutions. And for you all, just when all the dust settles and we actually have a closing, there end up being a few dozen documents that you have to put together to actually close one of these things. And there'll be a final closing transcript. So we will ask Madam President and your superintendent acting as secretary to seal an official copy of what you act, but we can take care of that after the meeting. We don't need to hold everything up for that. If there are no questions about that parameters resolution, yes, ma'am.
May I, Madam
Yes, ma'am.
President? You said our guardrail, it's not going to exceed 3.5%.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct? I mean,
yeah.
ideally, we'd like that to be as low as possible, you know, right?
Yeah,
I'd like to see
we
a
know what
2.
he's gunning for.
Right, I'd like to see a 2 in front of that, but we would not exceed
That's
3.5.
correct.
Is that okay?
You are understanding that exactly correctly.
I'm with you. Okay.
Any other questions about the parameters resolution?
It's not.
It's a lot.
Okay, I'll pivot and
Thank you.
talk about the ESG resolution. Now, this resolution ties to a contract document that you have in front of you. At the top of it, it says Phase 1A Guaranteed Energy Savings Contract. This is a draft, this is a form, and it will be, like with the lease purchase, it will be subject to further change. We're here to protect you all as those final terms, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. We've worked a lot with ESG's team, which we've enjoyed working with, and with their in-house counsel, Holly Sandry. And Ms. Sandry has been excellent to work with and has always given utmost respect and consideration to our request. A lot of changes have been made to the form that they first proposed, their base form for this type of contracts, and we've tried in working out language to protect this board and certain compromise language that we feel very comfortable with at this stage moving forward, that this will be a very good, fair, balanced, and you'll be well protected under this set of contract documents. Now, there will be two separate contracts. One, Phase 1A, which will be for approximately $5,421,301. That's for the non-ESSER funded projects. So part of that money will come from the lease purchase, part will come from available board funds. And so the other one will be very, very similar. The differences being the scope will be different. And if you can refer briefly to your color-coded scope summary, on the second page at the bottom, there's really a recap of the breakout. It all totals up to $14,230,818. And the ESSER funding piece is $8,809,517. And again, when you add up those two other ESPC funding source and Cabell County Schools capital contribution, they add up to that $5,421,000 and some change. So in the contracts, part of what they do is they guarantee certain amount of savings, which you all discussed last night, so I won't repeat what's already been covered. And they do that in a form of a written guarantee. That's one of the exhibits that will be part of this contract. And so if you approve this resolution, you're authorizing the board to go forward, finalize these two contracts using this negotiated template. And the outside maximum amount of the price will be this $14,230,818, broken down in those two pieces. As I've said before, 1A being $5,400,000 and some change. $5,421,301 to be exact. And then the ESSER will be done second, and it'll be Phase 1B contract, and it'll cover those projects. Now, I guess this was discussed last night, but the reason that the ESSER projects include a lot of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning components is that is the type of thing that ESSER is appropriately used to fund for. And so we've talked with Mr. Hardesty, and he's provided assurance that the ESSER authorities, shall we say, have approved this type of use for this particular batch of projects of this kind. So the sequencing will be Phase 1A, which ties to the lease purchase. We hope to have it signed roughly at the same time or before the closing for the lease purchase. If we sign it before, please note that we have built into that contract a contingency that you have no obligations under that contract until and unless you get your financing on the lease purchase closed. So we think that it'll all probably, what we like to do is have all the ships arrive in harbor at the same time and close, sign everything at the same time, simultaneous. That's perfect landing, perfect result. If we get done on the ESG front first, and we can sign the 1A contract with that contingency in it, then we may do that as well. There's no harm in doing that. You'll be protected by the contingency if in the highly unlikely event the lease purchase financing didn't come through. That's not at all what we expect. We think it will be a smooth landing, and either all the ships will arrive in harbor at the same time and the contracts will all be closed at one at the same time, or we'll probably finish the SG a little bit sooner. One other thing, we're aiming for a possibility of an August 31st closing. That's probably the fastest we can get it done. We've done a lot of work up front to try to make that possible. You see the result of that in front of you tonight. There is a chance, depending on which bank has the most attractive financing. This is something that Mr. McClowney will talk with your leadership team about. There is one bank that may, for reasons having to do with the Federal Reserve Board, may want to push that closing back to a later date. And I suppose it depends on how good their rate is. They would guarantee the rate if you had to wait. But anyway, we're if that bank were to win, it may not be as fast as the 31st of August is all I'm trying to say. And if it is someone else that has worked on a lot of the lease purchase financings that he's referred to in the last 12 months, then we have a pretty good degree of confidence that those banks probably can move that quickly, and maybe we do as early as August 31st closing. No guarantees, but that's what we're aiming for.
Sir, if it happens to be a bank that, because of FDIC board rulings and the amount that they can actually loan out and so on and so forth, that date instead of August 31st would be October 1st, am I right?
October 1st is what I understand from Mr. McCloney.
October 1st is that there's one bank institution.
Right.
They've expressed great interest, and we don't want to name names for obvious reasons.
No, right, but we
Yeah.
would, but they would still guarantee the rate in their bid. It just means that we couldn't close till that time.
Yes, yes. And to clarify, you hear in the news all the time, inflation, 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 and you hear the Federal Reserve Board Open Market Committee raised interest rates, the Federal Reserve rate, as part of their tools to fight inflation. Well, one of the tools they have also that you do not hear about is they can put limits on the capital reserve requirements of banks to slow down their pace of lending and slow down the economy from overheating, and therefore try to use that to slow down inflation. And so that Federal Reserve restriction on some of the bigger banks is what we're referring to. You never hear it in the headlines, unfortunately, but it's there. And so we just wanted to bring that to your attention. We're trying, and we're poised, we're poised to go very fast, but it may be as late as early October. For that one reason, if they happen to have the really great rate, much better than everybody else. And happy to answer any questions.
It's a lot of money.
Overwhelmed.
It is. It's a lot of money.
You know, Mrs. Bond, you're right, it is. I think that that's the sort of the beauty of this project is that just a little over $14 million in capital improvements to 7 different schools across Cabell County, on top of the bond projects we're already doing, I think shows a real commitment to us making sure that our facilities are well cared for. But I think that the nice thing about this package is that we're using multiple revenue sources in order to get these projects across the finish line, none of which put, in my opinion, as superintendent, and I would ask actually, and he didn't know I was going to do this, but I would ask that, you know, maybe you asked Drew about this, but none of which put the school district in a major financial burden to be able to see these things through. Obviously, there's the potential 7 or 10 years. I know in the resolution it's 10 years, but we really do believe it's going to be 7 years of financing, which is the smaller portion of the dollars going into these projects. But again, we were very, very careful, very strategic in how we looked at what could the district's commitment be, because we know that we have other district commitments that we have over the next several years already, and we want to make sure we can still keep those commitments. So being able to leverage some of the general fund dollars that were, you know, unrestricted right now to be able to get these projects over the finish line, we feel like this is a very, very conservative budget that is able to really, really do quite a bit for the students in Cabell County. So
That's a point well made, and not every board is as fortunate to be in the fiscal shape. You all are excellent. You're well run. You have excellent financials and strength there. That would be the envy of many of the school boards around the state. And in terms of this type of project, the amount of non-borrowed funds versus lease purchase funds, that percentage here is really low relative to the total $14,280,000. And I think that's what the superintendent is partly saying there. And that's true from our experience. We've done probably more of this than anybody in the state. And far and away, this is a pretty low percentage that you're actually borrowing through the lease purchase.
Can you explain lease purchase?
Sure.
Please.
Okay. Under the code, generally 18-5-9, and under the Energy Savings Code section 18-5-9A, you have the ability as a board to acquire property that you need for your purposes, including for capital improvements for your school system. Now, 18-5-9 is the general authority, but that includes to acquire them by ... lease. Among other techniques, you can acquire things you need by lease. Under the energy savings statute, and it's different, by the way, for county school boards than it is for municipalities. It's stricter for municipalities, but you have the ability to go out and competitively solicit bids or proposals from energy savings contractors such as ESG and their competitors, which you have done, and you made a selection of ESG after a thorough interview and selection process. And then that statute also says that you can finance up to 15-year term through a lease purchase agreement the project's equipment and systems and other related installation costs. So here, the idea is that the savings generated pay for a significant part of the total project costs, or for a good, sometimes it's all of it, but here they will pay for a significant part of the total cost of what you're borrowing. So in a sense, doing the projects creates the cash flow savings that helps pay for the lease purchase. Not totally, but a big chunk of it. And so that was kind of the idea behind that statute. I was involved in lobbying for it back in the day when the late Bob Kiss was Speaker of the House, and that was passed actually. But the way we explained it to the legislative leadership was that it is another tool in the school board's toolkit to help finance projects that'll both reduce operating costs in the form of energy costs primarily, as well as make the situation for the students and teachers and staff healthier and more comfortable. And you generate savings that help pay for the whole darn thing. So here, that's what's happening to a large extent. You're using some of your own funds, and you're using the ESSER federal funds, and you're borrowing a little bit. But the savings help pay for the 15 years of principal and interest payments where you stretch that out. Now, under state law, and under 18-5-9A, the lease has to have an annual right for you to walk away. And when we do lease purchase financing, that is always a board's right. That is required to make it legal. It's required to make it constitutional. So that technically each year, under these documents, the treasurer and the director of facilities, and it really falls on the treasurer, would submit a request that this lease payment be included in next year's budget. And you are the deciders, you as the board. If you wanted to walk away from that lease, then you could. And the items of equipment that had been placed in technically could be removed by the bank. Not that they would be wild probably to do that, nor would you be wild to walk away from it probably either. But that's legally your right. So when we say lease purchase, what we always mean is that right to walk away each and every year by not appropriating the debt service for that lease payment.
Sort of like red option to buy.
Kind of, and at the end, it becomes yours free and clear of the lease. I hope I answered your question. I wouldn't maybe use that phrase, but it's kind of like that.
Sounded like that.
Kind of like that.
Mrs. Bond?
We discussed this yesterday in the work session. I wanted to make sure that I understood, because I think you said it, Dr. Sachs, correct me if I'm wrong. If we would be able to, we weren't going for a 15-year term, but a 7. If we were able to pay that off early, there would be no issues with that? Are we free to do that?
There usually is a short period of time where you would not be able to do that, but it depends on how the proposals come in. I'll ask Eddie to kind of field that one, because partly you get a better rate if you protect the rate for a certain period of time.
Okay.
And I'll let Eddie talk to that.
Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, just.
For 4 years, it's non-callable after that. Now, when you get in, when we talk to some of these institutions.
Can you come up, I'm sorry, can you come up to the, just so that it's on the record? Thank you.
I'm sorry about that. We're looking at a 4-year non-callable.
Okay.
Now, some of the institutions, we put in there that they can make recommendations and change exactly what we're looking at. It would not be surprising if some institution comes back and says, we'll make it callable at any time at a premium. You just don't know, but we allow them to come back, and that's one of those items we will look at and negotiate with when we see it. we just do, but most of those institutions and the ones I talked to before I set out this information, they all wanted about 3.5 to 4 years, and so we
Okay.
used 4 years to make sure that we could get good proposals.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, that's a good question. One other thing, to get good proposals that is in this resolution, the parameters resolution, harking back to it for a second, is that you don't plan to issue bonds this year and that you don't intend to have borrowings, lease purchase or otherwise, in excess of $10 million in this calendar year. And that helps you when you can make that certification. It helps the banks get a better rate from a federal tax standpoint without getting too far into the weeds. It's sometimes called bank qualified obligations when you have that. So.
Drew would have a heart attack if I even proposed that.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah. Not for them, not for you. No.
Okay. Thank you.
Just questions. We got the listing yesterday of the proposed projects. And I wanted to make sure of two things. I wanted to make sure, number one, that everything that could be ESSER was ESSER. If there's anything else on here that we could add to ESSER, that'd be great, since that's, federal funding. And then the other thing I looked at was, what's the total cost of each project, and then how much is that saving us? And some of them seem to me that the cost of the item versus the amount of savings and how long those savings would take to provide a return on our investment was excessive. And I know that, not all improvements are going to be able to be quantified financially. I mean, there are some things that we do that aren't just so we can have a return on investment financially. But I think it would just be good to be able to go through this a little more in detail of each project to see what gives us the most bang for our buck. Are there things on here that really don't provide us, the energy savings or the operational savings as much as some of the other things that would possibly help us to reduce even further our borrowing? I know that we've said, as a whole, the percentage of what we're borrowing is very low compared to the whole. But what if we could choose some things to leave out of this that would make it even more conservative, I guess, would be just something that, as I looked over it, that stuck out to me.
We actually went through that list multiple times. We have taken several things out of there. We've taken roofs out of there because you can't use ESSER funds for a roof. You really don't get a lot of savings from a roof, but you have to have a roof that doesn't leak. But we have a schedule in our county to replace roofs. Some of the items in there, such as the floorings, there's not a lot of savings from energy from a flooring. Our savings are going to be seen going with LVT flooring, and we're not having to have manpower wax them year after year after year.
Right.
So that is the savings there. It's also something that the public can readily see when they walk in a building, that you really can't see ductwork, and you can't see the sprinkler system except for the sprinkler heads. But you can see flooring, and it makes an immediate impact. And quite honestly, it makes just a more accommodating place. So what you see there, and we can certainly go through them line by line if you'd like to, and we have ESG here that actually assembled the list and took things off as we requested that. For example, the destratification fans. I think that we have 2 left in the scope of works, because we really felt like we did not need those in all of the facilities. For example, here, the future of that portion of the building where the gymnasium is, we're not really sure if we need a destratification fan there long term. We took it out of the contract because we didn't want to pay for something up front that we really didn't know how long we would be using. So I don't know if that helps answer the question or not. Dr. Sachs may have.
I was also going to say, one of the other big items that I know that had been in an energy savings that was going to have some, I think it was annual operational savings, was hand dryers. That was something that was looked at for
Yes.
all of the restrooms, and that was something that we removed because we did not feel that the and I believe there was a utility saving increase, but it was the operational savings of not having paper towels, and there were some efficiency
Right. factors
factors to it. But again, the total cost of the hand dryers, you know, we didn't feel like that was something that would, that the financial incursion of that was not worth the potential offset of savings. So Mr. Hardesty is correct. We really did go through this quite a bit, just internally, and to make sure that the things that we were keeping were out of necessity. So for example, like if we were replacing an HVAC system, making sure we were going ahead and taking care of the control systems and those sort of things were also important.
Right.
And so, and of course, I think if you recall, the big items that there was a huge, you know, the largest return were the lighting. So obviously those were there. The building weatherization type stuff, while really, I would say minor costs in the grand scheme of the overall total projects. The water conservation is actually an interesting one, because what that does is not only does it improve your utility savings and perhaps annual operational costs, but you're also getting updated fixtures. You're getting new commodes, new sinks that or sink fixture faucets. So there's also as Mr. Hardesty was saying, when you do flooring, people see that. People are going to see that their restrooms have been updated. Even though it's under the water conservation component, because there's a utility savings to it, it helps us put that into the finance portion. One of the other things that I think is important to note is that part of this process that we went through review, anything and everything that we could put into ESSERF was done. In fact, it was done so much so that we would have conversations. Actually, I think some of you all met Mrs. Perky and Mrs. Polly at the ribbon cutting today from Department of Education, their federal programs. They're the ones that we always go to and say, you know, we have this, we want to use the funding in this manner. Is it allowable? And so they're the ones who sort of vet that. And of course, the HVAC systems, the Department of Education had a specific a person that would come out and make sure that the building's HVAC system was of a certain rating that would qualify you to spend ESSER funds to replace them. I would submit that of all of these items, the ones that are that obviously have the least cost savings is the flooring, because I think the deferred annual operational savings of wax and paying someone overtime, you know, we're not going to recoup that from what we're spending. We're not going to. However, I think that there's a component where we're updating the school, and the community will see that this is an investment we're making so that the learning environment is modernized, and that the building feels fresh. And I think that there's a value to that is unquantifiable. The other thing I think is another very important point is that we were very careful to make sure that that the schools on here, if they were on here, were schools that were not already slated for some sort of major improvement over the next couple of years, with the exception of Ona Elementary. Ona Elementary is in here, and the reason that we included it was one is that there were some minor upgrades to the chiller and furnace that you can see there was only $21,000, but a large portion of that is to actually do a safe school entrance, and under the provisions set forth of what would be allowable and what could be perceived or could be realized energy savings, because of the when you think about going into a school and just going straight in from the cold weather or the heat, that creates airflow into the building. Well, if you have a safe school entrance, there's a buffer now to where that heat and that air is not going to be evacuating the building as quickly. So there's a saving. There's actually a cost savings to having a safe school entrance. Now, it's important to note, because I said Ona Elementary is a school that we do not plan to keep over the next 10 years. However, working with Mr. McCliney, one of the things that we wanted to make sure of is that, because this is in the finance portion, correct?
Yes.
It's in the finance portion, is that we will have that portion of the project paid for to the bank through our annual payments before we would ever take that school offline. And so the sense of urgency to make sure that all of our schools, this Ona Elementary having a safe school entrance is taken care of, and the amount that and the funding stream that we're using to pay for it, that portion of the loan would already be paid off by the time that school would ever possibly come offline. I'll also submit that our plan, and actually my goals this evening, was that we were going to submit to the School Building Authority this fall a proposal for a new Ona Elementary School. Well, that's not going to happen because they've decided to cancel that funding cycle this year due to inflation. So the first that we'll ever even be able to put a proposal before the School Building Authority for Ona is going to be next year. And so that, I think, delays that project maybe just a little bit more, especially if we're depending upon the School Building Authority's funding for Ona.
Yeah.
But all the other schools are really majorly being taken care of. The other one I want to say is the central office. The central office is on there because our air conditioning chiller here is on its literally last leg. There's two of them, and they're both literally limping along. And so being able to take care of the district office in that regard obviously is very important. And then also being able to update our floors here is important because we have a tremendous number of people coming in and out of our building, and I think our building reflects the pride that we have throughout our schools as well. So those are the reasons that that we selected what we had on this proposal.
When you say central office, you are including Crossroads, correct?
We are not.
Or is it separate?
Actually, what we're only including for this building is the three-story portion of the building, not the third floor, but this three-story section. And the reason we're not including the rest of it is because our long-range plan is to relocate Crossroads to the Career Center once the Sears building opens up, as well as our maintenance department and all the the shop bays at the Career Center.
That would be
and so
great.
at that point, this portion of the building, which is the oldest part of the building, what we would need to decide at that point, and my proposal is going to be at some point, we're going to need to raise that portion of the building. And we would probably need to reconfigure the entrance to this building from that hallway, because another concern that we have, and there's nothing we can really do about it, but the entrance to this building is in the alley, which is extremely dangerous. And we would like to be able to have a secure entrance here after all of our schools have been taken care of. I purposely did not want to. This building could be addressed, but I didn't want to address this building until all of our schools were addressed.
Yeah, I agree.
But that is a very dangerous exit. And at the time when we make the transitions to our new facilities and we raise this into the building, being able to construct a secure entrance for visitors to this building, I think is also important for the employees in the building. So that's why we were only really targeting the flooring for the first and second floor, because that's predominantly, this is the part of the building that would be staying long range.
Okay.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
It's
Hardison.
enough, so
Yeah.
it's plenty.
It's a lot, and we wanted to be able to take good time to talk to you about it, so.
Okay, next, communications from the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President and board members. Boy, it's an exciting time in Cabell County. I have been, as well as our staff, Ms. Watts, Mr. Hardesty, his teams, our executive directors, our principals, our teachers, our service personnel, have been just working so incredibly hard to kick the school year off. And so we welcome back staff, 200-day staff last Wednesday, and they've been going through district training, state training, local school-wide training, as well as trying to get time in their own classrooms, and they've just been doing a phenomenal job. And it doesn't take you long to walk through any of our schools and engage with our staff that you can't see the excitement in the air and feel their own anticipation of the school year ahead. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the start of the school year is people are excited, and they're refreshed and they're renewed, and really we're ready to kick off a great school year. So I do want to encourage all board members, if you would like to join my cabinet and senior leadership team, we will be starting the morning at 5:30 sharp at the Transportation Complex in Cox Landing to do well wishes to our bus drivers and send them off. It's a tradition here in Cabell County, and we can't wait to see our bus drivers off. I also got to drive a bus yesterday. Is today Tuesday? Yes, today's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yesterday morning, I started my day off at Cabell Midland, and I was able to drive one of the big transit buses through the obstacle course. Joey Goodpaster was my coach, and I only hit 3 cones. So I was really excited about that. It's one of the perks of being superintendent. You can drive a school bus in a parking lot. Our teachers and our staff have been working so hard with sharpening their saw, if you will, and with professional development, getting ready for the new school year. We've had, upon reflection, we had a tremendous success with our Educators Institute, Educational Institute, Excellence in Education Summit, as well as our Principals Leadership Summit just several weeks ago. And then, of course, we have been providing training to substitute teachers and substitute staff all across the county. We're one of the few counties that actually paid our substitutes to come in and receive that training. And then, of course, there's just been some really, really good quality training over the past 5 days. One of the most exciting trainings that I was able to go and see was last Friday. We are piloting a product called Prism, and it uses the augmented reality goggles that you have to teach math concepts. So if you can imagine the conceptual understanding of geometry or algebraic thinking, it's really hard for some people, like Ryan, to conceptualize those concepts when you're thinking about paper or whatever. But when you put these augmented reality goggles on, you can actually manipulate things, and it is the coolest thing ever. And so I'm really proud of some of our teachers that have gone through this professional development. Ms. Watts and her academic specialist wrote a grant to receive, I think it's 90 of these, 96, possibly more. And that's excellent. Augmented reality goggles free of charge. So we have those here. We're paying for the curriculum, but it is just awesome. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm sure that we'll do a Cabell Connection story on it very soon, because we are the first school district in the state to be able to provide this type of learning.
Very cool.
Students are obviously preparing for the new school year, and they went to, over the past couple of weeks, there was the Climb Institutes for incoming 6th graders at middle school and incoming 9th graders. We had nearly 2,000 employees have been working hard for all of this, and so we were just very, very excited. And of course, we have our open houses that are going on throughout the school district in welcoming our students and our faculty back. Board members, we had an opportunity to really see something special today, and that was the ribbon cutting ceremony at Colloden Elementary School. And again, this is one of 11 outdoor classrooms that's being opened across the school district in the coming year. We expect 5 of those to come online this fall, and then the others to start construction here and be finished before the end of the school year. So we're really, really excited about that, and I think what a unique experience that our students will have in these learning spaces. Wanted to provide you with a quick update of our summer feeding program. This past summer, we served approximately 17,000 breakfasts across Cabell County and 36,000 lunches during summer feeding. When you count the 855-day meal boxes that included breakfast and lunch, you can add an extra 4,250 to both totals. Those were the meal boxes that got them through the end of the summer learning stuff to the first day of school. So we're really, really excited about that. Over 40,000 meals and lunch being served. So definitely proud of our school food service program. Our Eat Awesome school bus was all across the county being visible. And so we were really proud of, again, being able to offer these meals to students absolutely free of charge. We had our new teacher orientation. Again, this was early last week. where we welcomed 65 new teachers through the new teacher orientation program. I want to commend Miss Smith and her staff, as well as the other individuals from the district office that went and provided information to our new teachers. It was really, really inspiring to see all of these new faces that have chosen Cabell County to be their place of employment. And again, it was very interesting to be able to see surrounding counties, and it was like, you know, this county, this county, this county, that county, that county, that county. So we're definitely attracting people from the surrounding counties, and that's something that's exciting as well. Again, just a few upcoming events. Again, our first day back is tomorrow, and we will have district office staff stationed through, this building will probably be virtually empty because we basically disband everybody to our schools to provide extra hands in the morning. I take that back. We will have people here to man phones and to be able to address concerns, and you know. But the point is that we're all hands on deck in our schools. And of course, 5:30 in the morning, the bus send off, and then we have our senior summer school graduation this Thursday here at the Janice Chandler Auditorium, starting at 5 p.m. I am excited to announce that our commencement speaker is none other than Mayor Steve Williams. And so he will be addressing our summer graduates. And then, of course, first day of school for pre-kindergarten students is August 24th, 2022. Board members, that concludes my update for the mid-August. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sachs.
Graduation will be the 24th here in the auditorium.
I think that, no, it's this Thursday. This Thursday.
Yeah.
You were getting me ahead of week, and I had to think about the dates.
Oh, very cool. May I
Hey,
say,
Mrs. Bond.
Mrs. Watts, thank you for
17.
writing the grant and taking, I think that sounds fantastic. 96 of them, was that correct?
It's the 18th.
Oh.
18th.
I have physical therapy
To
at
sh-
3:30, but I'll try to get here.
We've got 2 middle school teachers that attended that's interested, and so we're trying to get that worked out.
Oh, it sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't take all the credit. Dr. Sachs was led the charge in it too. He just passed it to me, and I pushed it through.
I have to admit, Mrs. Bond, yeah, I will tell you that I've told you all this before. I push our team really, really hard. And sometimes when I pick up the phone, I say, "Hey, I got this project I'd like you to look at." They're like, "Not another one," you know. And but again, they do, and they try. And this one was a fast turnaround. There's another one we're working on also. I'll tell you, this is really exciting as well. We're working with a company called Paper, and that is they'll be offering tutoring to students 24/7. They just basically pick up advice. It's through through instant messaging, and they can manipulate data, the math problems, and those sort of things. So it's a 24/7 tutor for students. We're really excited about this next venture too. But again, all I do is bring it to them and say, "Hey, can you do this?" And they're the ones who do all the heavy lifting. And so it is.
It's great. Our students benefit. That's who benefits from this.
Yep.
It's wonderful.
Virtual reality is a big thing right
Mhm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And it's going to expand. That virtual reality is going to expand beyond the mathematics. So again, it's right now algebra, geometry. It's
Oh,
Yep.
trig.
Yeah, the geometry trig is very three-dimensional.
Mhm.
So it's pretty, teachers were like totally committed
Yep.
and sold.
But they're moving. But they're going to also open modules in the next year or two to science and social studies.
Yes.
So you
Okay.
can imagine these virtual field trips to, the Roman Colosseum,
That is the
and be able to
coolest
have
thing.
these. It's really, it's very cool stuff.
It is.
Absolutely. All right, do we have any delegations to be heard tonight?
We do not.
Do not. All right. We'll move ahead to section 3, board member comments. Board members, do any of you have a comment you'd like to make at this time? All right, we have none. How about workshop requests for our next workshop? Anything? All right, let's move on to the consent agenda, section 4.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any items you'd like to discuss?
Madam President, as you know, we talked earlier about we could pass the consent agenda at one time. I'm kind of conflicted here with the ESG contract. It's a lot of information that, and I know it wasn't the intent, but we just talked about this yesterday. I know there was the hope that we would have this in July at our workshop, and it wasn't able to take place. And so, you know, while I trust our leadership that they've, you know, gone through this with a fine-tooth comb, for me personally, to be able to vote on something, a $14 million proposal, I just don't know that I can do that on the second day after getting the information. So, you know, for me, I would like us to, you know, do this separately instead of doing it all together. I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts on that or what have you, but that's just where I'm, you know, like I said, I'm conflicted. I think it's probably going to be a good thing. I think when I look over it, and I think most of these projects are going to have a huge impact on, you know, those schools and the central office. I just wish we had a little more time, I guess. I'm finished.
All right.
May I make a suggestion?
Do we have any discussion from other board members
Well,
on
did
this?
You just want to know what we think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would having it on the agenda the next 2 weeks be better for you? Would that work?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think just having more time to
I understand.
Take in on me. This is a huge amount of information. And I know that our leadership has done their due diligence, and I want you guys to take that personally. I know that you guys have put in the time and effort to try to make sure this is, you know, exactly what it needs to be. I just personally need more time to delve into some of that and look over some of the details.
Question.
All right.
It's probably
I'd be
for one of the,
all right for.
probably for one of
Mr.
the
Caldwell.
people down there. If we would pass this, are we tied into it permanently, or can we back out at any time? Because you said there's two divisions, like section 1, section 2.
Oh.
And my concern is probably unfortunately, the faster we do it, the better interest rate we'll get. That's the other thing, probably.
No, that's a good question and good comments from the board. I would suggest one of two paths. If the board wants to, and you're the deciders, I mean, we all know that. I've been doing this for 40-some years, and so I know it very well. But if you wanted to have more time on the ESG contract resolution, you could pull it, or you could pass it, or you could amend it to say that you would like, before it's actually signed, to come back to the board on the 6th, I think is your next meeting. So we can make progress, but it wouldn't be final until the 6th. That's one possibility. It's not the way the resolution's written right now, but it could be amended from the floor right now to accomplish that. I would suggest on the other resolution, which we refer to as the parameters resolution, because you're out soliciting proposals right now, that you probably should go ahead and pass that one if you're okay with that. At the end of the day, if you don't close because you don't do the projects at all, which I don't think is what I'm hearing, but you need more time to be comfortable getting your arms around perhaps the total cost or the breakdown between one or the other, we can continue to move forward on that front. And so it's really a board decision how you want to proceed, but I would recommend not tabling or deferring on the financing resolution, if that's okay. That would be my strong recommendation.
Yeah, and I would be comfortable to do what he just said as far as moving forward with the one, understanding that, you know, time is of the essence as far as interest rates go. And so, you know, I'm comfortable with moving forward with that.
And if you wish to make progress on the ESG front, an amendment that I would frame right now, possible consideration by the board would be that we add a section at the end that says that the contracts with ESG will not be signed until a further final action of this board at its next meeting on the 6th of September. That simple. And then that means the final is really going to be the 6th, not tonight. But we can continue to negotiate and move forward and try to finalize those contracts. It would not be wasting time.
Does someone want to offer that motion?
Yeah.
I could make the recommendation if you would like.
Yes.
If that makes it easier.
Yes,
Sure.
please.
And I'll make sure I'm making it, is that okay if I make the recommendation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. So I think that the first thing is it sounds like we want, oh, go ahead.
I think
Ma'am?
Tim wants to say something.
Well, I'd like to too, and I completely understand. It is a lot of money. I honestly look at this as an investment into our kids. I think going now is going to maybe, and I know it's not for sure, but maybe get us in that too, which I'd like to see on that interest rate, to act now. So that is my preference, is I'm on board with this. I just to throw my 2 cents in there, okay?
The only caution I would have is that due to pricing issuances from vendors, I'm not sure that those prices will be held that we have in the contract.
That's what I'm worried about.
I know when we go to get quotes now on things, sometimes we get a quote for 24 hours or for 7 days. And so the prices you see there have been given to ESG. But I don't want to put the board in any position where they have to make a decision they're not ready to. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that anyone would have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame people for putting limits on what they can
Right.
guarantee us a price. I
Because
get that. They're protecting
the
themselves.
supply chain is just such that,
Yeah.
you know, what they give a quote for, they may not be able to replace it with in 3 weeks or a month.
Is the contract, the proposed contract with ESG time sensitive?
The contract with ESG itself is not time sensitive. What is time sensitive would be the prices that they have quoted in there. So there's a chance that if we wait, they'll have to check with vendors to make sure those prices are still appropriate.
May I ask a clarifying question, to make sure I understand also? Is the signing of, because what the proposal here is asking for is giving the superintendent and the board president authorization to close on the financial aspect, as well as to sign the 2 contracts with ESG. Is the contract with ESG contingent upon finalization of the financing? So meaning that we don't sign if given the authorization, we wouldn't sign the ESG contract until the financing the bids would have been received, not necessarily closed upon, but we would have received the bids on Friday afternoon before we sign the contract with ESG?
Well, technically, that is not how it's set up right now. It's set up so that there's a contingency in the ESG contract that says you have no obligations under it if you don't close on the financing. Right now, that's the way it's set up.
Okay.
The resolutions authorize those designated officers to go ahead and work with council and finalize each package of contracts. So the lease purchase financing would be authorized. You wouldn't have to come back to the board for another authorization. Likewise, the ESG contracts could be signed either before, same time as getting the lease purchase signed. That's the way it's set up now.
Sure.
And there's one other thing that we could do, which is that well, we've talked about adding an amendment to the ESG resolution that would say that until the board takes further final action, that contract will not be signed. That was what we just talked about. But there's no reason you couldn't do a special meeting
That's the other.
for
that
one
was-
purpose.
That was the suggestion I was gonna
Do
make.
you have the ability to allow some members to participate by telephone as long as they can hear each other?
No more than two.
No more than two. Okay. Well, that's a burden, but it's another compromise that would allow us to move swiftly. So if you had a special meeting a week from now,
Right.
would allow additional time to process and ask questions.
So that was actually the next question I had was, theoretically, when did we believe that we would be in a position, if given approval tonight, for example, to close on or to have a finalized contract with ESG for the two different contracts?
I think it couldn't happen any faster than a week from tonight, but it's happening. I mean, it's made a lot of progress. I will say their lawyer has been good to work with, and we're, I'd say, 90% of the way home. We're waiting on, because some of the scope was really not solidified until the work session afterwards yesterday, and they could hear questions from the board and
Sure.
fine tune. So that piece will have to come from ESG,
Yeah.
and so that's going to take a few business days.
However, I would submit that if the board was to approve the financing portion now,
Right.
and we were to theoretically call a special board meeting for next week on Thursday or Tuesday or whatever, then ESG is going to work just as hard as they can in order to get that document and everything finalized for the board to consider, and it would give the board a few more days to just sort of, take it all in, I guess.
Right.
So that's another option that you have as a board also. And I would also say, I understand that there's a lot of information. And while we've tried to provide updates throughout this process, a lot of the meat and potatoes of it really was not available until the past week or so. And that's, I think, the speed at which we've been trying to operate to get something going so that we can move forward. But I understand when you're talking about this much money that you may want to think about it. And so I respect the decision of the board in whichever way you go.
We might want to hear from ESG briefly because while I think we fairly summarize where we are, they may have additional thoughts.
The only thing that I would like to say is about the costs that we have in here. These costs have come from the contractors on these projects, and the way that the market is right now, they're not willing to hold the costs very long. So, I mean, I totally understand you wanting to understand the project more and making sure this is something that you want to do, but you also have to understand that the market is different now than it has been in the past. They're only holding pricing for very short periods of time. And it was, what we've done in the past is when a board has approved the contract, even if the exhibits aren't done, this is really the scope of work for the project. When you get the written exhibit, it's going to explain exactly what schools are getting, the lighting and that kind of thing. We would give the contractors, a letter to say, we're moving forward with this, so would you please hold this pricing? At this point, we won't be able to do that if, you guys don't move forward with this tonight. But, of course, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you have at any time if you decide not to move
But Ms.
forward.
Blackwell, if we were to hold off until signing the contract and having a special board meeting next week, I mean, that's what was best case scenario anyway, so it's not going to really potentially change the prices that much if they do a special board meeting next week.
Could.
I mean, are you also saying that if they were to give approval tonight, that the prices may not hold until the contract's finalized?
Well, what I'm saying is if they were to give approval tonight, what we've done in the past is issued a letter to the subcontractor saying this notice to proceed, and they will hold those prices. You see what I mean? So those are firm prices right now, and this is would be a firm number. So, Craig, can you add anything?
Yeah, you need the microphone. Thank you. Just need it on the record.
No, we've been working with these contractors for several weeks. They've actually submitted
pricing and updated it throughout this process. So, you know, as Audra said, crazy market out there, material price increases, labor price increases, labor shortages, it's just driving them all over the place. And plus, they have a very heavy workload with all the ESSER funding out there, so they have a lot of work to go, and they really have more work than they can handle, so they kind of picking and choosing the work they want to do.
Yeah.
We do a lot of work with these contractors. We can leverage, you know, our buying power with them and our contracting power with them, ask them to try to hold the prices. And we can go back to them and ask them that, you know, can they hold it another, you know, 7-10 days till we can get this finalized if that's what you want to do. No guarantees, but we can do our best.
I mean, I'm the only one who spoke, so I don't know. I mean, I'm only one vote, so.
We'll discuss it further.
I'm afraid to wait. I'll just say it, I'm afraid the price will go up. I'm afraid we won't get that. I'm afraid that we'll be up in the upper threes on our percentage. I like that it's a 7-year term. I really think that's good. I'm content with it.
And the lawyer will make sure that we don't get messed over.
Yeah,
Did you hear that, Mr. Hunter?
We're
Yeah.
protected.
Roger.
That's what we want to hear.
Said you're going to protect us.
You're gonna protect us. That's your job.
Yeah, and I have no concerns with the financing. I mean, obviously, those are really good rates. And I appreciate the leadership being conservative and not, I mean, we could go 15 years and try to get the price down, but
Right.
I appreciate the attempt to limit that amount of time, and even, you know, with the thought of there being a possibility sometime down the line that we could get out of that even sooner than 7 years. And I understand that we are well protected with the contracts.
Board members, are we prepared to take a vote?
Yeah, how do we need to do that? Or do we need to do a roll call? What do we need to do?
So,
No,
so-
I'd ask legal counsel on this.
Madam President, did you all want to do it all together, or did you all want to divide the consent agenda
I mean, pull.
Individually.
individually, those two individually? And then do a roll call on those two?
Okay, say that again, please.
You could do the consent agenda minus those two items.
The 4.05 and,
I think it's 4.04 and 4.05.
no.
4.0.
05 and
5 and 4.06
Mhm.
minus those two.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Is that what you
That's
prefer?
fine,
If
yeah.
that's what you,
I think, yes.
We need-
You agree?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Madam,
Vote on those two items
Yeah.
separately?
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, let's let the superintendent give us a recommendation. and we
No,
can-
didn't know if I was
Okay.
if I needed to make a motion, but.
Madam President and board members, I recommend approval of the consent agenda with excluding items 4.05 and 4.06 to vote on individually.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation.
I make a motion, we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
All right, Mrs. Bond makes the motion.
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Pauly seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Hearing none, motion carries. All right, now,
I can provide another recommendation if you'd like.
please do.
Madam President, board members, I recommend approval of item 4.05, the lease purchase agreement related to energy performance contract.
I so move.
Second?
All right, Mrs. Neely moves, Mrs. Bond seconds. Let's do a roll call vote. I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 4.06, Madam President, board members, I recommend approval of the energy performance contract with ESG.
So moved.
All right, Mrs. Neely moves.
Second.
Second, Mr. Pauly. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. No, hearing no's. Motion carries. All right.
I think,
Are we going to
Madam
roll?
President,
sorry.
We need to do a roll call?
I
Roll
think we
call on
probably
that.
need to do roll call.
Oh, we
on
do
that
need-
one,
All right,
if you don't
roll
mind.
call?
Oh,
All
well,
Is
right.
that-
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
No.
All right. Vote is 4-1, motion carries. All right. So,
We're
ready
to
for
financial.
financial. Finally. All right, ready for the financial section? Mr. Rockin?
Good evening, board members.
Evening.
We've got the July report on the agenda this evening. We have the July treasurer's report, the July vouchers payable, and we do have a handful, just a short list of budget supplements. We've received some grants that we wanted to supplement in. On that sheet, I did just want to clarify, those of you that look that one over, there's a negative number for communities and schools, and there's a positive number for communities and schools. Basically, the funding came from a separate funding source at the state level. We anticipated it coming in as a state grant. It actually came in as a federal grant out of some of the governor's COVID money this year. So we just were moving it from one fund to the other, but that's one of the, or two of the supplements on the agenda this evening. We're working on the financial statements right now. We're kind of starting that process. Those will be available next month whenever we have our board work session. Do y'all have any questions for me this evening?
I have none.
I don't.
Any questions for Mr. Rockin?
No.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rockin. Goodness. All right, we're ready for the personnel section, number 6.
Wait, do you want a motion for?
Vote on the financial part?
Oh, yes, I guess we should,
Um,
shouldn't we?
I make a motion that we accept the 5,000 series.
Mrs. Baum makes the motion.
Second.
Second from Mr.
Mr.
Caldwell, I
Caldwell.
believe. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right, now, personnel.
Personnel.
Board members, do you have any names that you want to pull? Any questions you have?
We have two that are already pulled.
And yes, Mr. Hardesty's already given us 2.
Correct.
P 2444 and CU 23008 have already been pulled. All right, any questions, any discussion?
I move that we accept the 5,000 series as recommended.
All right, Mrs. Neely has made the motion.
And,
That's not the 5,000.
and,
6,000.
is,
The 5,000 series minus the 2
well,
Minus the 2 that was.
Mr. Hardesty gave us.
Yes,
P
exactly.
2444,
We're in the
CU
6,000.
23008
Right,
have
yeah.
already been pulled.
okay.
Right.
So we're voting on the remainder.
On page 10.
Right.
Right.
But we're in the 6,000
It's
series.
6,000.
I think maybe the concern was the 5
That's 6.
Yeah, so it's,
Got 5 numbers.
unless.
Point of order, Madam President.
It's 6 and
Due
it's
to the
5.
change in the agenda order, it's now
Yeah.
6,000, so.
All right.
that's all right.
Yes.
Okay.
Change those
The
numbers.
agenda is different.
It's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
So,
Then my motion would be to approve the 6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6,000 series
All
as
right.
presented.
We'll do it
Okay.
again.
with those items already pulled, am I
With those
understanding?
items already
I
pulled.
second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. We have people to congratulate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have people to congratulate.
Motion passes.
Right here.
May I make some announcements?
Make a
Yes,
mo-
please.
motion.
All right. Thank you so much, board members. What an exciting afternoon we have. I'd like to recognize some of our newest administrators or administrative transfers. The first is we want to recognize Mr. Edgar Harbert, who is now the Cabell Midland Assistant Principal. Mr. Harbert, would you like to introduce who you have with you today?
Sure, I want my wife Kristen, my daughter Kendall, Luke, my son right here, Chloe, my mom Carrie, and my dad Ed.
Congratulations. And thank you to your kiddos for enduring the long meeting. So we're definitely proud of you and look forward to your leadership at Cabell Midland, sir. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
We also have Mr. Lance Eastham, who was not able to be here, but he is transferring from assistant principal at Huntington High School to Huntington Middle School assistant principal. So congratulations to Mr. Eastham. And then finally, I'm really proud of this next one, our new Executive Director of Secondary Post-Secondary Education, Miss Heather Scarberry.
Hey, congratulations.
Congratulations.
So now she gets to deal with all things high school. Yeah, she has to deal with Jody now. She has to deal with Jody. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
All right. We're on section 7.
Okay.
Special board items.
Yes.
Superintendent goals.
Do we?
Thank you, yes. You should have copies, I think you should have copies in your packet that had, and I provided yesterday, the amendments to the
Your goals?
goals that were provided to the board last board meeting. Just to summarize a few different items, one of the things that, based upon feedback from board members, I wanted to try to address was in strategy 4, being able to create this public-facing district equity scorecard and a dashboard that identifies specific gaps from our subgroups, meaning subgroups of students that are of poverty, are students of color, or let's say non-English speaking, special education, that, you know, are there inequities that exist between those subgroups and all students as it relates to graduation rate, student achievement, or even, like, for example, career and technical education completers.
Yeah.
You know, one of the concerns there, what we don't want to do is we don't want that to make any certain employee in the district feel like that they're responsible. And so that's why one of the things we want to be able to do is that when we provide that is to engage multiple stakeholders in really helping identify the root causes of what that data shows and how we can create some strategies to change the outcomes of those disparities. So that was how I wanted to be able to try to address that. And I really appreciated that perspective because I hadn't thought of it through that lens. We don't want to create anything that makes someone feel like that they were the reason. Looking at goal 3 was where the other amendment was. One of the things that had been sort of brought up is that one of the things we want to be able to do is recruit applicants for district positions through practices that attract diverse, highly qualified candidates. You know, one of the things that's very near and dear to me is that we have quite a large population of students in our county that are of color. But to be quite frank, the number of individuals that we employ that are teaching in classrooms and even in leadership positions that are black or of color or represent a minority is very, very few and far between. Yeah. We really don't have an equal number of employees that represent our student group. Mm-hmm. And so we want to be able to recruit highly qualified applicants that fit those demographics so that our students can see people that look like them that are also successful. And I think that's very important. And so the question came up is to, well, what strategies are you really going to use? And I think that it was going to be very hard for me to say this is exactly what we want to do, because I want to be able to be fluid in creativity and finding ways that we can do this. I think part of it is where do we go to recruit, maybe beyond where we traditionally recruit, the strategies in which we recruit, but also perhaps some of the incentives that we can perhaps look at tying to attracting candidates to come to Cabell County to teach that are highly qualified in general. So I wanted to be able to be as fluid as possible. So that's why the way that I amended this goal is that we would look at what research has suggested can accomplish this. So I wanted to be able to explain that strategy and really the vision behind strategy 2 in recruiting a diverse, highly qualified workforce. For goal 4, one of the pieces of feedback that I had is, you know, I have a student advisory council, and prior to the pandemic, I was also able to meet with groups of teachers as well as principals. And since the pandemic had sort of occurred, the ability to meet face-to-face with those stakeholder groups became more limited. And so really refreshing that and being able to make sure that I still have a group of individuals that I can meet with on a regular basis is important. And so establishing a principal, teacher, and service personnel advisory group individually. So it's not, so it'd be a group of principals, a group of teachers, and a group of service personnel that I would meet with separately to, just like I do with our Student Advisory Council, to meet and to provide feedback as to what they feel we do well and what we could improve in the district for our students and for our employees. And then I think that does it. So those were the amendments that I made based upon feedback that I received from the board.
And we can approve your goals tonight.
I
can we
am,
not?
yes, ma'am, I am requesting approval of the goals unless there's any other amendments that
All right.
maybe you would like to consider.
All right, board members, are there any questions or changes you would recommend to the superintendent's goals?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'm ready for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the superintendent's goals for 2022-2023
All right,
school year.
Mr. Pauly makes the motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Caldwell. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. All right. Section 8, discussion, legal updates.
We do, Madam President.
We do? All right, board members, I'll need a motion to go into executive session, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Neely.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Bond. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are in executive session.
Motion that we come back into regular session.
Okay,
Second.
all right, got two motions and a second, so.
Mr. Caldwell?
Mr. Caldwell was the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
I'll second
Mrs.
that.
Bond and Mrs. Neely, and Thousand, of course. Who was the second?
I will be second. I'll second.
All right,
Melissa.
Mrs. Bond will be the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. We're adjourned.
Okay, thank you, thank you.